Well, hello. Thank you for joining me. Question for you today as we look at lesson 237 in the workbook for students. Have you accepted the truth about yourself? This is our question today for contemplation, right? And for by contemplation, I mean not just thought, but action. What kind of action? Forgiveness, right? As many times as you can and must, and remember to do it. Lesson 237 is, now I would be as God created me. All right. Now I would be as God created me. Not how my mother wanted me to be, or my dad, or my first grade teacher. Right? Now I would be as God created me. In other words, now I would be as I am. Now I would drop the facade, drop the veneer, the persona, drop the drama that we work so hard to create in our lives. We spend a lot of time. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's funny, not funny, right? But because it's really critical to have a sense of humor on the spiritual path, because the further you go in it, you realize, well, you're not really going anywhere, so to speak. But the more work that you do, the more you realize how ridiculous some of the things that you've said and done and believed truly are. And it's kind of funny. Laughter's powerful medicine. It's some of the Holy Spirit's best and most powerful medicine, for sure. It's essential because we've spent so much time in our lives totally engaged in this drama. And it's high drama, isn't it? We create a personality, and in business we call it a brand. I mean, nothing against that. But in life, in general, we spend so much time trying to be something that we're not. Which begs the question, naturally, who are we? This is an essential question, maybe the essential question on any spiritual path, and one that the ego is terrified to have you ask. Who am I? This makes some contemplation and action on lesson 237 very, very powerful, does it not? Now I would be as God created me. Now I would be who I am for reals, not who my first grade teacher thought I was and wanted me to be, not who my mom wanted me to be, not who my dad wanted me to be, and not who social media influencers want me to be. I mean, how do they know anyway, right? We seek the answers today where they belong, inside. Where else? Where else? Because a social media influencer that does not personally know you and may never come to personally know you, doesn't know who you are. Your first grade teacher does not know who you are. And if they happen to, okay, great. But you get the point here. And yes, it's repetitive because we're all adult learners, which should cause some serious laughter. I know you know what I mean by that. We have to have things multiple different ways and multiple times presented to us on a platter again and again and again and again and again and again and again until we make the decision that we're actually going to take these teachings to heart and we're actually going to apply them. That's where the real action is. It's one thing to have a book like A Course in Miracles, right? The Bible, the Quran, doesn't matter. A modern spiritual book by an author such as Wayne Dyer, for example, or Eckhart Tolle doesn't make any difference. It's one thing to have a book on a shelf and maybe pull it down and peruse it every now and then. And it's quite another thing to put teachings into action, into application, moment to moment application. It's important to understand teachings, yes. However, who we really are cannot and never will be grasped by the intellectual mind. It's beyond that. What happens is we know, we experience. In the philosophy of Taoism, for example, the Tao cannot be known by the intellectual mind. It can, however, be directly experienced. This is what is meant in A Course in Miracles by direct communication. This is how God communicates directly, in other words, automatically. It just is. Lesson 237 is all about accepting the truth about ourselves. So have you accepted the truth about yourself? If you have not, will you do it today? Will you take this precious opportunity and do this today and simply let who you are be? Accept the truth about yourself. You are as God created you. And our acceptance of this is essential. It's even required. Ooh, I know, right? But don't worry, I'm not your first grade teacher. We all know deep down who we are. On some very deep level, these teachings clearly resonate with you. How do I know? You wouldn't still be watching, right? You wouldn't have paid attention nor even been drawn to this YouTube channel. If you've tuned in from Enlightened World Network, there's no way that you ever would have been drawn to a network all about spirituality and spiritual practice if this did not bubble up and resonate and scream and beg for your attention deep down. So I thank you for hearing the call, and it's up to you to answer it. As they say here, as Jesus says, in the Course, each and every one of us hears the call. All hear the call, few answer. Ultimately, of course, everyone will answer. But what does answering look like? Well, I invite you to take these ideas to heart and apply them. And if you're just starting out with this workbook. If you're new to it, start from lesson 1 and do yourself and everyone that you'll ever come into contact with, virtually or in person, do all of us a favor and start from the beginning, the way Jesus intended this. If you pop in on lesson 237, like today, for example, it is possible to learn and gather a great deal. And I hope that I have inspired you in one way or another to practice. If you have a copy of A Course in Miracles sitting on a shelf that you've never opened, I hope that I minimally cause you to think about it today. Even if you think about it today, and then you don't think about it again for a year or a decade, I hope that you think about it today. The more you do, the quicker that day will come when you pull it down off the shelf. And then the quicker it will come when, rather than sitting on a bedside table, you crack it open and read in that moment what you're intended to read. And I'm compelled to say, be kind to yourself. If I'm talking directly to you and you've had a copy of this book sitting on a shelf or on a bedside table or a coffee table, not like a coffee table book, for a long time, it's okay that you haven't opened it. When the time arises for you to do that, you'll do that. It's saying quite something that you actually have a copy, isn't it? Now think about that. Yeah. So let's all be kind to ourselves, shall we? Of course, this doesn't excuse us in the end from practice, from forgiveness, from showing up as love. It doesn't excuse that, right? It doesn't excuse our failing to do that. But what I think you'll find, and if you've started this journey, then you'll know what I'm talking about here. I think you'll find that one act of forgiveness leads to another. Just as one withdrawal from the truth leads to another, could lead in the other direction, so to speak, one act of kindness leads to another. One act of forgiveness leads to another. One prayer to Jesus, to God, to the Holy Spirit, or to your guides, whatever that looks like. One prayer to be shown who you are. One prayer to experience the truth about yourself. One prayer to get out of your own way and simply allow the truth to be is a very, very highly effective. And like I've said on many videos, even if all you do is take the day's idea here in the workbook and recite it silently to yourself, even if you only do that once, that's very important. It's tremendous and it's powerful on a level that none of us can really gauge. Really, truly, we can't even gauge the power of that. But I know that you've been called. I know that you've been invited to do your part. So I invite you to let nothing stop you from that today. Nobody else can make that decision but you. Your mom and dad can't make that decision. If they're no longer living, then, well, they couldn't have made that decision anyway in the past, right? Your first grade teacher can't make that decision for you. Your favorite social media influencer on Instagram can't make that decision for you, right? You make the decision moment to moment. But I will tell you, you've got some, as the Course puts it, mighty companions with you. Do you not? Yeah, call on them. Call on him, her, it. Ask for help. You'll get it. We're promised that, aren't we? That you will receive. Lesson 237, accepting the truth about yourself is all about that. So happy practicing here today, guys. I will see you on the next video.